Hello, welcome to Forest Focus. Nottingham Forest are fourth at Christmas, but is it a festive miracle or are the Reds now Champions League bound? Joining to discuss that question, Saturday's 2-0 win at Brentford and the Boxing Day visit of Tottenham are, first of all, Pete Blackburn. Pete, good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I was going to say morning. Yeah, definitely afternoon, although Greg's just woken up for the day. Yeah, I'm great. Christmas is here. Forest won away. I think I'm just about starting to believe that this is actually all happening and I'm not going to wake up. So, yeah, great. Looking forward to chatting about it.
Greg Mitchell, fresh out of bed. How are you doing?
Don't believe everything you read on the internet.
From your wife.
I'm good, yeah. Still buzzing. It was the one I wanted. So we got it. Early Christmas present and keep going.
Yeah, good man, good man. You made it onto TV cameras as well. We'll come back to all that, though. We'll come back to all that. Lewis McGugan, happy Christmas. How are you?
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, fine, thank you.
Good. Right, like I say, we'll do some Brentford chat, we'll do some Spurs chat and some big picture Champions League chat as we go along. Kick us off, though, Greg. Brentford, like you say, the one you wanted, you were in the away end. Talk us through how the game and, the celebrations at the end.
Sometimes I remember having this feeling at Peterborough away in the promotion season where you just know we're going to win. And I was so confident. And when they released the team and the talk in the pub is, well, we haven't really got a midfield. Like, how's it going to work? And I just thought he's doing it again. He's seen something and he's going to make it work. And we were brilliant. We let him have the ball. When we got it, we looked just devastating. Some players just completely have stepped it up another level, further than I thought they could go. The crowd was superb. Never stopped singing. It was just a brilliant away day. I mean, it's tough to get to Brentford as well. It's a nightmare. Once you're in London, it's like an hour the other way, and the trains were just completely shot. So it was just nice. Had to go home via Derby as well. So yeah, good day all round.
The interesting thing, Lewis, probably before the ball was even kicked, was the switch to 3-4-3. What's it like, that formation for you? It feels to me like there's a lot of onus on the two central midfield players to really do a lot of work in Anderson and Gibbs-White as 2 8s or 2 6s or whatever they are. They have to be a bit of everything, I guess. Do you like that formation, or do you? I'm talking longer term here, starting with Spurs. Is it too much to put on those lads or not? What do you think?
Potentially. I think obviously the manager's seen something. He's had the faith in them two players. He's pretty much going back in that formation. Them two centre midfielders kind of play like an old school centre midfield pairing. I think they have to do pretty much everything. They have to share that workload. So I think from a bigger picture, I think it's really good to see. I think it's good that we have players that we possibly didn't think that could do that role. Have shown early signs of potentially being able to do that. So no, but also then when we do get on the ball, they have that quality a little bit more than maybe the other centre midfield players on the ball. So I think as a whole, I think it's something to be excited about. Whether the manager decides to use that moving forward, and even in the Tottenham game, I'm not so sure. But it's definitely another a formation and a tinker that we can do and it can produce.
I suppose quality is the word, Pete, isn't it? We tried it under Steve Cooper with Freuler and I don't even know who the other one would be. Yates, maybe, Jack Colback, whoever, and it didn't really work. But those lads are so good on the ball, and there's this comment here about Foxhall. Sorry, I'll put this one up. It lets Murillo step out. It has it has challenges for players, but if you get it right, like we did on Saturday, it has big opportunities as well.
Yeah, I think it worked really well on the day. Clearly, I was a hint surprised that it happened when the team news was announced, and I guess I don't know to what extent the sort of disciplinary situation with Yates and Dominguez and Yates having a knock and stuff played into the selection process, but certainly it worked really well. I think to sort of touch on your question to Lewis, I suspect it's probably not a system that we can play in every game this season, and there will be teams, I think, that will have enough of the ball in central areas and enough bodies in there to give Anderson and Gibbs White an awful lot more to think about than they perhaps had in this one. I think Brentford don't really use the middle of the pitch an awful lot. A lot of it's quite direct. Get down the wings, get Visser out wide, and Burma, and then those midfield players are often sort of they're sort of protection for the defence, and then they're crashing the box, aren't they? Rather than being the players that are sort of dominating the ball in that area. So I think it probably was, it was a good idea from Nuno in the end, and it worked out brilliantly. And I didn't see it coming. And like you say, I think quality is the key there, because Gibbs White and Anderson, it sort of feels pretty remarkable that these guys are playing for us, to be honest, when I sort of step back and think about it. Because the ability they have in terms of that sort of flair and creativity is obviously enormous. But both of them, they're phenomenal work rates. They're really physical specimens as well. And I think if they get it right on the day, they can pretty much do any role in those midfield areas. I've spoken before about hoping to see them as a sort of pair at some point, but I sort of assumed that would come with a big old number 6 behind them, giving them a bit of freedom. But as you say, real intelligence and real quality to do that role and do it well. Murillo obviously stepping out gives us another body there, and there's a bit of security with 3 centre backs behind them. But it worked fantastically, and I think it had knock-ons elsewhere, didn't it? Because when I thought about playing that formation before, I thought we'd have to play 2 proper centre mids and Anderson and Gibbs White as the sort of advanced 10s. But obviously he trusted Hudson-Odoi and Elanga to do it. They both sort of came into slightly narrower positions and both seemed to thrive in that area where they could just get the ball and run at the defence as well. Great impact on the wing backs. So, it's win-win stuff all around, isn't it? It was really fantastic to see. I think the biggest thing, sorry to bang on, is we've got another option now. And that's something that teams will have to think about with us. Whereas up till now this season, it's really been one formation and then the change late in games when we're leading. So, that's keeping people guessing, isn't it?
Thank you very much to Andy for being a member for 11 months. Merry Christmas to you, Andy. Merry Christmas to everyone who's watching. Almost 300 with us already. If you haven't already, just do us a favour and hit like. That'd be great. What was it like in the ground, Greg? Those first kind of 20 minutes, it felt like Brentford maybe had a slight edge, but we were comfortable. Did you always think that we were going to kick on, especially if we got that first goal? Did you think we were really well set?
Yeah. And again, the goals came at the right time. There was a point when Murillo ran through the middle in the first half and they didn't know what to do. None of them could stop him. It was just ridiculous. And I think that really made him switch on and think we've got to change our plan a little bit here, which benefited us in the end anyway. But there was always a belief. You can always tell with the Forest crowd how the general feel is, but especially in such a small away end in the corner there. It was just positive. It was brilliant. It was like one of my favourite away games this season, just for the atmosphere, the way we played, the way we didn't even need to hang on at the end. There was nerves, there always is, especially from me, but it didn't feel like they were going to get to us. Matt Sells was superb. He's got his song now, which he loves, and the Lion King one just is stuck in my head now for days on end. But no, it was brilliant. Just a real good end to well, it isn't this year, is it? We've got a couple more, but this part of it and ready for Christmas.
Just talk us through the first goal then, Lewis, if you would. And Hudson-Odoi gets it, and then take it away from there. What was your read on it?
Yeah, just from a tactical point of view, I think you look at it, how I think the manager wanted to set up what he wanted to try and do, and I think it was evident in the first goal. I think ideally what he wanted to do is get our wing backs, Williams and Aina, to kind of push high, which straight away takes their full backs now focusing on the wing backs pushing high, which then allows Hudson-Odoi and Elanga to get into them half spaces on the inside. Now, when you've got the central midfield 2 pairing that they have, if we play with kind of 2 deep players, that allows their midfielders to kind of sit off and sit into them half spaces. But because we had the players that we have in centre midfield that are going to go and get on the ball, their centre midfield have to go a little bit tighter, which pushes them up a little bit, which allows that half space in between the centre back and the midfield. That's where Hudson-Odoi picks up that ball. And then it's a case of when he's on that half turn, then he's driving at the 2 centre halves. That's how I think the manager wanted it from a tactical point of view, in my opinion. That's how I would look at it. And I think the first goal was evident how it worked.
Yeah, massively, certainly was. We'll stick with the wingers in one sec, but thank you very much to Red Dog Cooks for your membership for 11 months. I hope we have summer February 1st. Be absolutely stunned if we don't. I just don't see the owner letting him go, unless we're in FFP trouble, but I don't think there's any indication that we are. So hopefully we're all right on that front. Lewis is right, Pete, obviously, about the two wingers almost playing as 2-10s. They just had that floating role. Elanga gets the second goal, and we'll break that down. I'll let Lewis break that down in a moment. But just the influence of Hudson-Odoi and Elanga in the last, certainly obviously Elanga last 2 games, but Hudson-Odoi, I feel like kind of last 3 or 4 as well. He's stepped up as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think it's been so good to see. I mean, we've talked relentlessly on here about the wide players and perhaps also Gibbs White as well, not really quite finding the heights this season that they have done previously. Hudson-Odoi has obviously delivered a couple of special moments, and Elanga's had the odd moment as well, but has had a fair bit of grief from fans, particularly those online. And I mean, I think I said a couple of weeks ago, it's sort of pretty remarkable that we're where we are, to be honest, given that those 3 players who are our sort of big attacking threats behind Chris Wood generally haven't really sort of done it to the level that you know that they can in a consistent sense. But it does feel like it's starting to come together now, doesn't it? And I mean, it was great. I'll let Lewis talk about the goal, but it was great to see Elanga get the ball and just drive at goal. You know, whether he's hitting the byline or he's coming inside and just driving at goal, I think that's what you need to see from him. I don't really want to see him overthinking it or taking too much time to sort of get involved in neat interplay and stuff. I just want him gone. That pace is just such a weapon, and it's terrifying for the opposition. And I do think he's got that sort of finish in him, and we know what Hudson-Odoi can do as well. I mean, I thought Lewis's breakdown there of how the tactics played out was absolutely fantastic. And I think what's really exciting about it as well is that it wasn't just a one-off for that goal, was it? I mean, there was a sort of carbon copy attack with the Chris Wood chance as well, and so you can see there that there's a plan that the opposition were clearly not ready for and not expecting, as you could tell from Thomas Frank's post-match comments, and you know, it worked really well. So I think we're very lucky to have Nuno at the football club right now, and you know that I think we got a really good sense of him having a plan that made an awful lot of sense for the occasion and for the moment, and how it came off. And it wasn't just the goal; it was a really sort of concerted plan that could have paid off more than once.
Just talking through that goal as well, then Lewis, while we're here, then we'll get into more of just kind of Elanga and, you know, goal production and that kind of thing. But what did you make of the goal and the confidence of the finish?
Yeah, listen, I've always stated on here that I think Elanga, he's got a lot of good characteristics in his game, but I feel that he's a player that performs better when he doesn't have to really think about the action. I think when he just reacts to a moment, I think, and he plays a bit off the cuff, I think that's when he's at his best. I think potential when he has to think about stuff in a bit more detail, I think possibly that's where he struggles. If you look at sometimes last year, he's had a few one-on-ones and stuff like that where he's had time to think, and I think that's when he has time. I think that's when potentially he struggles a little bit. And if you look at that goal, yes, he does. He does good to wait for a reaction, always expecting a player to make a mistake. The player makes the mistake and he's on it. And at that point, he's only got one thing in his mind in terms of attack a goal. And it's a very, very good finish. But again, I think that's where he's when he comes into his own and really good in that top end of the pitch. I think when he has to just react to stuff and he hasn't got that real long time to think, and that's when we see the best of him.
Yeah, massively. Thank you very much, Lee, for the £10. Really appreciate that. Merry Christmas to you as well, and everyone watching. The celebration, Greg, he's running right at you. I guess that's dreamland stuff, especially as your absolute loathing for Brentford. You know, Elanga celebrating right in front of you is as good as it gets, isn't it? Like that.
You feel so close to him in that way, and like I say, it's a bit like a Bournemouth one. And even at the end of the game, when they'd all walked off, you could still see his knee marks in the grass, and we're having a little smile about that. I'd say he looked like that celebration was, I told you, like he's basically saying, I've got it. Like for the small lot that doubted him, and he hasn't been getting in the side as much as he wanted to. I think that's him saying, like, this is me, and I want that spot. When him and Hudson-Odoi play well together, it's just such a brilliant match. So, it was just great. Can I just say as well, on the PSR comment earlier, I did the overlap. It's out in the new year, I think, with that Kieran Maguire.
Fine.
And he said there's only one team currently that looked like they could be in breach. And when I pressed him, he basically said they don't play in red. So I think we're pretty good at the minute.
Leicester or Everton, isn't it? I would think. Yeah.
Yes.
When's that out? Go on, give you a free plug. When's your overlap?
I don't know. It's New Year, like early in the New Year, or maybe even just after Christmas. It's been filmed now. It's probably my favourite one I've done because we spoke basically about how fans are treated and the price of football, everything. So it's a real good one. Really good.
No, he's a really nice guy as well. Kieran Maguire, he's always been very helpful to me as well. So yeah, shout out to him and do check that one out. Right, just before we carry on with the match and then a few other bits, Boxing Day, straight after the game against Spurs, the Scarentinos are playing, so check that out. Free entry, you get food from the barbecue and pizza kitchen, so that would be about 5:45, 6 o'clock, something like that. So do check that one out. Were you at the Rick Parfitt gig? Did you make it, Greg, or not?
It was brilliant. It was so good. He is an unbelievable entertainer. He just gets the crowd in the palm of his hand, and probably why I'm a bit jaded this morning. I can't think of the big shed at the minute. But yeah, I had my works Christmas do, went for some food, and then to that. It was brilliant. Such a good night.
Excellent. Yeah, he's a lovely guy. He's a lovely guy as well. So yeah, thanks to NAV for all their support, certainly, all through the year and into next year. Very grateful for it. Lewis, last time you were on with James Belshaw, I remember you saying we just played Man City and we were discussing Gibbs White quite a lot, and you said he's got to score more goals, make more goals, and the wingers have got to score more goals and make more goals. And since then, Gibbs White's got a goal and 2 assists. Elanga's got 2 goals. I think Hudson-Odoi got an assist as well. I don't know if they're personally offended by you or not, but it's good stuff, isn't it? And it takes the pressure off Chris Wood, and just again, gives more reasons for optimism that we can compete against anyone now if players are stepping up, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's just the realizing where we are, and we've got ourselves in a great position, but we can't count on individual players that is going to carry us through. We need to, as a collective unit, we need to all produce, and that at that top end of the pitch, when you're in that team, that's what you're in there for, to score goals and to make goals. And unfortunately, especially at the top level, if you don't do that, you're going to find yourself struggling to be in the team. But I look at it as a squad where we are now, and I think that when you see success at any level, any team, the different kind of groups that will come at different times. Every single person will have their moment. I've said it before that they will all have their moment where they come in and help the squad. And if you think about it, for the kind of start of the season, Moreno was in and doing very well, and he went through that period. If you look at now, Williams has come in and kind of took that on and produced performances, and it's like, that's fine. It's not a case of, right, Moreno's now doing something wrong ways out of the team. It's a case that's what a squad is. To achieve success and to have a good squad over a season, certain people are going to come good at certain times, and that's where we are now. I feel that when potential we make them changes, we now have people coming in, chomping at the bit, ready to take it on, and there's not a real drop off in performance or levels. Yeah,
well, it's a good point to pick up on, Pete. Just on the other players on my notes. Nico, he couldn't really say he should have been in the team at the start of the season, if we're honest, because Morata had done a good job. But right now, you can't say that there's any case to leave him out, is there, based on performance? He was excellent again on Saturday. His maturity of his performances feels like it's come on such a lot this season. His football intelligence and everything about him feels like it's gone up another gear to me.
Yeah, well, certainly he's got right back to that best period that he had towards the end of last season. Anyway, I mean, it's nice to be able to talk about him again, because I was president of the Nico Williams fan club last season, and it's been a little while now. I think you're right. I think Moreno came in and did a very, very solid job and had an absolutely outrageous game at Liverpool, which sticks in the mind somewhat, and that was always going to make it hard for Nico to get back in the team. But I think his form did dip a little bit, and Nico's had an opportunity for various reasons, form, Moreno not being able to play against Villa and such like. And as you say, he's really taken it. I mean, as far as I can see, really the only reason right now to drop him and play Moreno is if you feel that it's really important to have a natural left footer there. And clearly it can be very useful in terms of patterns of play and the way it opens the pitch up and stuff. But it will be seriously tough on Nico, who I think he's really growing back into the role. I think he's had sort of early on in coming back into the side, there were, a couple of sketchy moments where his wingers got away from him, and he often looks a little bit like he might be a walking yellow card, I guess. But I think he's been fantastic. He brings real tenacity, and I mean, I think you notice in this in the Brentford game that he does bring a real sort of calm quality and composure on the ball in that attacking third in moments as well. He's obviously got ability in terms of delivering crosses, and we see his sort of set piece ability with Wales and such like. But I thought the goal was great. I think he draws, I think it was Christopher Ayer, wasn't it? He draws towards him really nicely, shifts the ball so quickly that he can't really get near to him and drives across goal brilliantly. And I think we saw a few moments where he did that. I think for the Wood chance, he sort of just draws the man enough to create space for Anderson to go in behind and finds him with a good pass. And it just looks like he's at the heart of a lot of good that we're doing at the moment, because it does seem like we're in the last few games have been really focusing on that sort of left channel, and he's been a really big part of it. So as far as I can see, he's won the place back for now. And whether there are questions about rotation over this sort of festive period, perhaps, but he's obviously not played an awful lot of football through the season, so I'm sure he's not going to be very happy to give up the shirt anytime soon.
I wanted to ask you, Greg, about Murillo. I got a message from Danny Tring, good guy, who was at the game. Murillo's performance was the best individual performance of the season by far, he said. I mean, I think you'd have to go some to beat Moreno v Salah, but watching him in person, playing the middle of the back three, how good was he?
He was brilliant. But Milenkovic will always make his football even better. And it's that trust that he's got with, I mean, having two central defenders on the pitch with him, so he gets a bit more freedom, was just superb. And you could tell he just embraced it. There's a couple of times he was high up the pitch and he wants to score goals. He wants to create goals. He just doesn't want to be that rock at the back that he is. I just thought he was great. But I honestly didn't think, like, at the end of the game, wow, Murillo. There was a lot of them on that pitch that you thought were just brilliant, but he's just such a great player. And if that's going to be his role now, he's going to grow into it and get even better.
Yeah, him, Morato, Sells as well, Pete. That save from Sells, like Lewis says, just moments where players step up, because the game was still very much on the line then, wasn't it?
Oh, massively. Yeah, I mean, you concede a goal at that moment, and who knows how things change. That sort of change of momentum can do an awful lot for a team's confidence. And I don't think it was a Brentford side or a Brentford performance that looked miles off it, to be honest. I thought it was just classic Forest, because, first 20 minutes or whatever, that Brentford had several moments where, they could have made us pay, and on a different day, they might have been, away from us. And that's sort of what Thomas Frank said after the game, I suppose. But that's football, isn't it? They weren't clinical. Sells had a sort of simple save earlier. I say simple, he did. It was a good save early doors, and we defended stoutly, and with that just intense character that we seem to have about us, and we get through those periods. But like you say, I think that second Sells save, I mean, it was pretty absurd, really. The pace that ball's coming at, I think a lot of times you probably see the ball end up in the goal one way or another, whether it's sort of with the keeper bundling in there or whether the keeper can't get enough of a touch on it in that very small reaction time. I just think he's just constantly growing in stature. He seems to be starting to add these the sort of high quality saves to his game. I think what we've seen from him this season is a real steadiness about him. And it feels like the defence and Sells, there's obviously a good understanding there. It's pretty settled. And he's been making the saves that you hope a keeper at this level can make, and not making any risks. But I feel like he's really growing into starting to make some of those saves that perhaps you don't necessarily expect keepers to make as well now. And I mean, if that can be a consistent feature of his game, then we're really onto something there.
Let's move on to Spurs, try and condense it into as much as we can in the next 20 minutes or so. How would you feel facing a team like Spurs, Lewis, when they're the top scorers in the Premier League, but they look as brittle as anything? They conceded 6 yesterday. What would your mindset be going into a game like that? Do you just have to forget what they are and worry about, or focus on what you are?
Yeah, I think it's kind of. I think all the pressure and all the conversations are not about Spurs. I think we just carry on. We just go into the game as we go into any other game. We've got nothing to worry. We're in a great position. We're in a great place in terms of a fan base, in terms of the club, in terms of the team and the squad. I think all the noise at the minute is about Spurs, so let them deal with that. I think we've just got to continue each game to make sure that we have the plan, which you can see the manager and this staff are doing. Each game, come into it, do our due diligence on that team, make sure that we're ready to go. And it's another great opportunity to go and get another 3 points. And I think that's as simple as we have to look at it. I think we can't get caught up in what is kind of the bubble around Spurs in a minute. That's something that as a club they've got to deal with. And we've just got to think it's a great opportunity at home on Boxing Day to go and get 3 points. That's it.
Thanks very much, Mark. As you say, do us a favour, hit like and subscribe, everyone. 420 people with us, which is great. Appreciate that on the eve of Christmas, or the eve of Christmas Eve at least. How are you feeling about it, Greg? We've struggled against them, but it feels like the boot might be on the other foot a little bit this time. How are you feeling?
Win. I'd love to beat them. Like I say, the East League Spurs supporters contingent will all be there, and I'd love to quieten them a little bit and give it to one of them. I suppose they're probably the biggest team left in the current Premier League that we haven't beat yet, like in this term. So we certainly can beat them. They'd be a lot more worried about coming near this season than they ever have been. But like someone said in the comment, Steve Battle, which the mad thing about Spurs is they could be 2-0 up against us after 10 minutes. Because you just never know. That's why they're Spursy, aren't they? You haven't got a clue which team's going to turn up. But with Forest, we are structured and steady, and you know what you're going to get with us. So, yeah, I really think we can. And I really think we should. I had a little quiz question off Dave Marples, and it was before the Brentford game. So that's a clue. There was 3 teams that in the top division, this is since we were founded, so not just Premier League, that we've played and never beat. Now there's only 2. I'll give you one. One was Brentford in the top division. Yeah.
Are they currently in the top division?
No. Well, they could be. It's one for the comments. You're definitely not going to get one of them.
That's definitely one for the comments. Have a think in the comments. Yeah. And
obviously, we know the answers, obviously, but I think it'd be nice to leave the comments. Let them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we mean by that for the comments. Right. Let's look at a couple of tactical lineups and talk about.
Can I just say, can I just interrupt you for a minute, Matt? Lewis's answer to that was your first question was so unbelievably humble. But if you look at this Spurs team and the absolute state of things back there, prime Lewis McGugan's bagging, isn't he? He's running at Archie. He's absolutely terrified, and he's firing one of those 30-yard howitzers in the top corner. Nailed on.
Is that right, Lou?
I'm not quite sure.
Dear. Let's do a couple of tactical options then, like I say. The first one, I guess, obviously, is to go unchanged. So I'll read that out. That would be Sales, Milenkovic, Murillo, Morato, Aina, Gibbs-White, Anderson and Williams, Ilanga, Wood and Hudson-Odoi. I suppose the only worry I have with that, Lewis, I'll ask you about is they're going to play. Benton Kerr is back from his ban, which I didn't realise, but speaking to Spurs fan, the opposition preview, he's back, good player. Then probably with Sarr or Bissouma, and then James Maddison as a number 10. And I suppose the number 10 thing is what would worry me about playing that formation potentially. Would it worry you? Would you want to go to a back four to deal with Maddison, or is that too negative a way of looking at it?
Listen, like I said, I think a lot of it should be about us and what we do. Listen, they're a very, very good team with very good players, and on any day, them players can cause us problems. Yes, they're in a bit of a strange period in terms of probably the back line, and the manager's under a bit of pressure in terms of what he wants to try and do. Well, we can see now he's not going to change. He's going to continue to play how he wants to play. You talk about Maddison. Maddison's over the last probably month or so, he's been I won't say a little bit of a scapegoat, but he's the one who's missed out on a few times when Brennan was fit and playing Maddison was on the bench at times, so they possibly could go Basuma, Bentancur, but you say that Bentancur's back in. Does that mean he's going to go straight back in? I'm not sure. So listen, they I'm sure after yesterday, they will have thoughts about what they want to do. But again, I think it's important that we're in a really good position. We're in a really good stage. We're playing at home. It's going to be a great atmosphere, and I think we've just got to make sure if we produce the kind of performances that we want to produce, I think we're a match for any team. So, in terms of the team you put on there, our setup, I'm not sure. I don't know. Do you stay the same? But I think again that worked really well against a Brentford side with the characteristics they had. I think the big thing, what the manager's shown already, that he's prepared to tinker at times if he feels needed. Potentially, he might want to go back to a back four and bring probably Yatesy in as he does at home, and have that kind of one deeper centre midfielder. But again, we've got them options, and it's an exciting conversation to have, because I think we're not all the options and different formations and personnel that the manager's been choosing. It's been quite nice to see. Like I said, we've got that nucleus now of a big squad where players are coming in and out. So I think it'll be exciting to see what the manager does and also see how the Spurs set up.
Yeah, I mean, from speaking to Baker, who's out tomorrow, it sounds like it's either Maddison or Brennan. Brennan would play on the right, Kulusevski in the middle, and I mean, Kulusevski is an exceptional player. He was really good against Liverpool yesterday when they were floundering around him. So yeah, good player. You know your questions, Greg. Is that Premier League or Division 1? Are we talking?
The comments have got him. It was
time.
It was the top division. So it was
is Bournemouth one of them?
Bournemouth's one, and then David Smeaton got it with Northampton.
Nice.
I think it was 1966. They were in the top division with us.
That is some effort from David Smeaton.
I mean, gold star to David if he's got that without Googling it. Be honest, David. I mean, that is impressive. I'll give you that. Right, let's just have a quick look at the alternative one. This is the one that you sent me, Pete. So that would be Sells, Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, Yates coming in for Morato, as Lewis mentioned. Gibbs, White and Anderson as two number 8s, and then Elanga and Hudson-Odoi wide with Chris Wood up front. So slightly different way of going about it. Pete, what are your thoughts there?
Well, I mean, I'd preface it by saying that I don't have any great confidence in my own opinions on whatever. I think whatever Nuno does right now feels like it's going to give us a really good chance in the game. I think he's really earned all of that trust and faith now, hasn't he? But I guess this could be seen as being a slightly sort of negative step potentially after that formation working so well at the weekend and bringing Yates in. And that perhaps being seen as a bit of a reaction to Spurs. But actually, when I think about Spurs as an opposition and what we're going to do to them, I'm thinking about it in a sort of proactive way. I just think Yates on Maddison, which I'm presuming is going to happen, because if I was them, I wouldn't be starting Brennan Johnson against a team that's going to sit in deep. I would have thought that would be an odd decision, but perhaps they will. But if they do start Maddison as they expect, for me it would be building block one of the performances. Get Ryan Yates on him, get in his head. I think he's shown before that he can have a bit of joy with taking James Maddison out of a game, and he's done that on several occasions this season. And I think that would be a lovely little part of the performance. Elsewhere, I think all of those players have massively earned the moment in the team. I think if we can have both of those wide men and they're contributing, then it's a really good place for us to be. I think the fullbacks can still contribute both in both sort of phases of the game, despite being a little bit deeper. I just don't think we lose an awful lot. I mean, you might argue that a lot of the Spurs threat comes from wide areas if Kulusevski and Son are out there, and that perhaps would lend itself to having the extra centre back, so there's a bit of cover if they get in behind the wing backs. But look, I think this is what I'd instinctively go with, but whether or not he does, I don't know. And I'll be sort of looking forward to seeing what he does regardless, and perhaps he's got another surprise tweak up his sleeve for us.
Perhaps so. Right, let's come away from that. Back to the comments just quickly. David says he was there at the game. 1-1 and 3-3. So well done to David. Fair play. What are your memories of Boxing Day football, Lewis, as a player? Is it any different? Do you hate the games, or are they just another match?
Early on in the career, obviously, it was very different. Funny enough, I was having this conversation a few times in the last few weeks with various people, asking kind of what happened at Christmas time, what was kind of, how did it set up, and a lot of the time, Christmas Day would be we'll either train early first thing, and then we'll always most of the time be in a hotel Christmas Day night. But that would depend either train early in the morning, go back home, and then meet later on, or meet later on for kind of like maybe a 3-4 o'clock training time, and then go straight into a hotel from there. So it's always been that kind of you're always kind of locked away Christmas Day evening, ready for Boxing Day, and it's just, and then towards the end it just becomes part and parcel. It's just something what becomes the norm. I can remember we had one year, and I sometimes remember, we had a Boxing Day game at Middlesbrough, I think, what got called off. We was actually training on the pitch, waiting for that information. We got it day before, so that year was a bit different. There was a few cheers that day. Oh yeah, that was a bit different, where you got to spend a little bit of time. But yeah, so that's pretty much how Christmas and the lead up to the boxing game comes. But we understand it's a big game on the calendar in all football. Everyone's excited to go to the game on a Boxing Day, and it's quite a nice feel waking up on Boxing Day ready to go and play. So they're the little things kind of behind closed doors. What potentially Christmas Day is always a little bit. It's just a bit of a day that drags, really, because you're just waiting for the day to be over, because you can't really enjoy it or really take full advantage of it. So Christmas Day becomes a bit of a slog, unfortunately. But then once kind of you wake up ready for Boxing Day, it's back to playing football, and you always know that you're gonna play in front of a good atmosphere and a full house on Boxing Day wherever you play. Normally, they're always kind of drawing good crowds, so that's always a bonus.
Would you rather be still playing, or assembling Lego, or setting up Xbox games, or whatever it is now with the kids?
Yeah, good question. Very good question. My body would not like to be playing, but I'd still take it. I think I'd still play and have the week where I can't move, than putting together all the Christmas presents. That's for sure.
Very good, very good. Right, quick word before we go on to the kind of the Champions League stuff and the stuff we can enjoy talking about for 5 minutes before we depart. Quick word for Global Telemetrics. Here's a reminder of what they do, and I'll have some words down the other side.
Footage taken by our repatriations team shows the aftermath of a theft. When the police took down this chop shop, our customer's stolen Mercedes, reported to us a couple of days after being stolen, can be seen completely stripped. With every theft, time is of the essence.
So there you go. If you're looking, this is an uplifting Christmas message. If you're looking to get your car back quickly, then get one of their tracking devices and report it straight away, and you'll get your car back. Touch wood for Global Telemetrics, to avoid any Christmas misery like that poor chap there with his Merc. So yeah, link is in the description. Do consider them, and if you click on the link, get a bit of commission thrown my way. But thanks for their support, Global Telemetrics, and Mike Boynes and his bosses there. They've been with us for months and months now, so very grateful for that. Right, Greg Mitchell, your European Dream Tracker. Let's have a look at it and see how you're feeling. Here we go. Bear with me. Fully up to date. Champions League is there. The yellow line is Champions League. Green line is us. Red line is any kind of European football. We're tracking very nicely for Champions League football, Greg Mitchell. On Saturday, we were discussing, myself, Mikey and Mark, where would we take in the table right now? So if I was to offer you, Greg Mitchell, 7th place, would you take that, or would you say no, we can finish higher?
Does 7th guarantee Europa League, or is it that conference?
I think it guarantees conference, probably.
I think I'd gamble. I think we're better than that now. I think I've seen enough. We've done half the season. We've played all the top teams away from home.
I'm offering you 6th place, Greg Mitchell. Are you taking that, or are you gambling on 5th and potential Champions League?
I think I'd gamble on fifth. I'll take fifth.
Yeah,
Give me
I'll
fifth
take-
now, not knowing whether it's going to be Europa or Champions League, and I'll take it.
Very good. Very good. Pete Blackburn, same question. I'm offering you 7th, Pete Blackburn.
Oh my God, I'm just wondering if I'm in a coma or something. This is insane. What is going on? How are we having an auction about whether we're getting in the Champions League or not?
We're having it anyway. We're having it. I'm offering
No,
you 7th
not.
place.
It's not having the conversation that's insane, that we can have it. Sorry, question was 7th.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm not taking it.
6th.
I think I'm taking 6th because I feel like Villa and Newcastle are gonna keep the form up, and 6th would be unbelievably impressive. So I would settle for that because Europa League would be unreal.
I said I'd only settle on 5th on Saturday, which is insane.
What has happened to you?
I know.
This season
I'll make my case, and I'll put it to Lewis. See what he thinks. If you look at the other teams, Villa have got Europe at the moment. Newcastle are the one that worry me, but they've been inconsistent, but they seem to have hit some form. Man City are a bit of a mess, but they've got Arsenal. They've got January to fix it, potentially. So obviously they're very good. Spurs are Spurs and could be anything. But I just look at us, and I think we've got a very, very clear tactical plan. We know exactly what we are. And if a player comes out of the lineup, within reason, like Chris Wood, Milenkovic, probably the two, we've got players who can come in for short term and not have a huge drop off. So I feel like because we know exactly what we are, and we're very hard to score goals against, touch wood, teams who are hard to score against tend to do quite well. Arsenal's whole foundation is built on conceding naught or at worst 1 goal a game. So I feel like it's possible. I don't think we'll finish top 5. I obviously don't. I think 7th would be amazing. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I feel like I can make a case, Lewis. Are we all absolutely insane to be talking like this or not?
No, listen. I think it's one of them things.
Yes.
We look at it. The Champions League is dream world, Europa League, and then Conference League. I think we have to also sit back and think about if we was at the start of the season. Think about where we are as a football club, how much we've improved. We're a lot ahead of schedule. I think any European competition, we've got to snap our hands off and be very thankful to be in any European competition. Especially if you look at the first 2 seasons we've had in the Premier League, and you look at this season, we're talking about we have to dream. We're in that position now. So for me, we have to look and try and get as high as possible. But I think as well, we also have to have that respect of where we are, and also if we get any chance of any European football, it's a fantastic season and a fantastic achievement from everyone involved in the football club.
A couple of stats from Paul Morley before I let Pete come in here. Paul sent me of the 100 teams to occupy the top 4 on Christmas Day in the top 25 seasons, 94 out of 100 have finished in the top 7. Leicester City being the biggest bottlers, going from 3rd to 13th in that season. Of the 25 teams who've been in 4th space specifically on Christmas Day, 20 out of 25 have gone on to finish in the top 7. So that means you've got an 80% chance historically of European football, Pete, in the top 7, that is. So yeah, come back in there, Pete. Sorry.
That sounds nice, doesn't it? I think I was just going to say, I think as long as we've got the blend sort of relatively balanced in that we do all this dreaming, and if this mad journey continues, then we just love every minute of it. Great. But we've got to keep in mind, as Lewis sort of says, I think it's still the case that if we finish 10th or top half this season, that is a hell of an achievement. It's worth remembering that everything is stacked against us, and even doing that would still be a massive achievement. The thing that I can't believe I'm saying some of these things, to be honest, but to back up your point that this might actually all happen, is when I look at the team and what they're doing right now, it's all based on the defensive solidity first and foremost, isn't it? I just don't see that changing. I think those are strong building blocks that aren't overperforming their qualities. I think they're just really good players in a good system, incredibly well coached. And I don't see that dipping massively. The only thing that I can see changing significantly, which I think perhaps we may already slightly be seeing a slight trend, is whether Chris Wood's finishing can be as insanely ruthless as it has been for some of the period. So it may dip a little bit on that front, and that would only be natural because it's crazy to expect him just to keep scoring goals from almost no chances whatsoever. But the other point is that we look to me like we're getting better in quite a lot of areas of the pitch. And the fullbacks are constantly growing in quality and attacking endeavour. That relationship between Gibbs White and Anderson could be anything. I mean, those are phenomenal footballers for us to have in our squad. And if they can really grow that relationship, I think that takes you anywhere. On top of that, we've got, as we've talked about today, we've got two wingers who would have come into the season saying were our sort of brightest talents, the ones that are going to, really impact performance and impact results. And they haven't really done it an awful lot and are starting to look like they're going to. So I can't really believe I'm saying it, but it's starting to feel like maybe we can keep up this sort of trajectory. And, there may be a bit of a drop-off because other teams are very good and have perhaps underperformed. But that, I just don't think it's going to make a massive difference. And we are going to be in and around this European hunt. And to be saying that 2 days before Christmas makes me feel like I need to go and have a lie down in a dark room.
Right, upcoming games just quickly.
Just a little thing on that. Just a little bit to add on terms of that European thing and about where we are as a club and are we ahead of schedule? The squad's doing fantastically well, but as a squad, we're probably ahead of schedule in terms of you look at the squads around us, where we've got players that are performing really, really well, but as a quantity, are we right there? And I think that yes, we've got to dream. Yes, we want it, but it's also about the bigger picture, the stability. Can we don't want one like super season and then we struggle. And I think if we look about the kind of Europa League and that brings in Thursday, Sundays, it brings in squad who's going to get stretched. And if you look at sometimes that's happened to clubs, they've had that really good year, but potentially their squad's not quite ready for that European football Thursday, Sundays. Then that second year, yes, even though they're in Europe, the kind of league form takes a big hit and they're not quite ready to be in that position. So I think, like I said, I think we have to dream and we have to try and get Champions League would be fantastic. But I think we also got to look and think, if we don't have Europe at all, it's still a fantastic season. We've still made so many strides and it gives us also a chance to build that squad a little bit more with probably without the pressure of them kind of other games coming in.
Yeah, massively. Right, let's look at just quickly, Greg, upcoming games. Spurs at home, obviously. Everton away, Wolves away, so a couple of away games. Liverpool at home, and then Southampton at home, with Luton somewhere in the middle. Are you going to, piss on any chips, Greg, or are you just going to tell us it's all happening?
It is all happening, isn't it? We're going to beat Spurs. We'll definitely get something at Everton. We'll beat Wolves, even though they had a really strong display against Leicester yesterday, but Leicester are absolutely done. I knew it wasn't Steve Cooper. Yeah, and then who is it? Southampton, Liverpool at home,
Liverpool at home, Southampton at home.
We'll do the double over one of those two teams at least. So yeah, it's all looking rosy.
5 wins it is then.
Yeah, I think I've just taught myself into that. Yeah.
Why not? When you look at the other teams, though, Lewis, what do you make of them? Do you think, from a footballer's point of view, do you think City are just going to come good? They'll buy a couple of players. Newcastle have got Isak and Gordon finding form, and as well as we're doing, these other teams are going to come to life or not?
Yeah, every team's going to have their moments. Like we spoke about Tottenham. They've all got quality players. They're all good. Sometimes they're going through moments, and every team's going to go through a moment. But them teams with their kind of squads at that top end, they're all going to come good. Now, where that time comes, you don't know. But we're in that position. We're right in amongst it. And I think people are now starting to see what we're about. I think, again, it's maybe kind of 6 weeks ago, it was potentially, Forest have got another good result again. That's a surprise. And I think as the weeks go on, I don't think it's becoming that big of a surprise anymore. So them other teams are now looking at, we are where we are, but we're there on merit. We're up there. And we're now making other teams at that top end think about us. And Manchester City, I'm not sure. I think the squad, I think they've lost their aura. And I think as when you're a big team like them, people now, and I think that's what's happened to Manchester United over the years. People they're now going to Man City not thinking they're the same team. They know that now, and it changes the player as it changes so much. And I think that's why Manchester United are now struggled. People are going to Old Trafford thinking that they can go and get results.
Yeah, we've lost. Sorry, I was going to ask Lewis. We've lost Matt, but Greg's gone for 15 points. We're getting all of them. What would you say? Those next 5 games. What's realistic?
Well, like I said, the last time I was on, I made a point of, okay, the Man City game where we are, we've got Manchester United, Villa, Brentford, and then Tottenham was the last one. I said at the end of that, kind of leading up to just before January, it would kind of lead us to where we are and about what we're about. And from that, now we've got 9 points out of 9. Hopefully, Boxing Day we're going to get another 3 points. So that was a period. If I looked at them games and thought that could be a tricky period where it would tell us exactly where we are. Now we've come through that with flying colours. Now we've got a bit of a situation where, say, you've got Everton and Wolves away from home. Wolves have now got a bit of a different spark. They're all going to be tough games for their own reasons. But I looked at that period just before what we've gone through, and I felt that was a tough period, and we've got through that very, very comfortably with some great results and performances. So, like I said, I think it's important to take each game as it comes. We then go into the January window. Teams around us are going to probably strengthen. There's a few teams that are going to probably panic. As a club, from your point of view, what would you like us to do in that window? What would you like us to maybe be quite relaxed? Do you think we need to go and kind of go straight away and act upon where we are and kind of show a bit of authority about we're going to go for it? What would you suggest as a fan base?
I mean, for me, I think it's a case of Forest taking it pretty easy and only making really considered, thoughtful additions at this point. Don't upset anything, but if we can add real quality, then do. What do you think, Greg? Transfer-wise in January?
Oh, we'll sign. I think we'll sign a striker, but it's just the hardest market at the hardest time of year to do it, isn't it? Yeah. Signing a striker that's already playing and the money goes up tenfold, and it's such a hard task. But I believe that we will have people in mind, and we'd have had them in mind since after the last window. So, yeah, I think we'll sign one. I hope we don't go for another keeper. I know there hasn't been much talk about that, but I feel like we're pretty settled with that now. So that should be.
Sorry, Greg. We are a bit of a different club now. Players are going to see us as a different club. But when we're now looking to buy potentially to break into that Europe, breaking that Champions League. So 6 months ago, where we were talking to players, yeah, you could always have them aspirations, but now the proof's in the pudding. We're right in the mix. So when we're now talking to players and talking to agents, we are now saying that this is where we want to go. So I think the kind of pool of players that we potentially can have conversations with now, serious conversations with, will be completely different.
You got to wonder whether Santi Jimenez is having second thoughts about his decision in the summer now, not wanting to come to the minnows who are now firing their way to the Champions League.
There was a clip. I think it was the PSG playing, and one of them plays like Championship Manager or whatever it's called, and he just signed Mbappe for like so many million for Newcastle. And I know it was all a joke, but the first thing he said was, "Oh, it's cold. It's too cold up there." And you do hear that about like why Newcastle have struggled to sign the players.
No, it is there, and unfortunately, like I said, in the football there is. It does happen. You sometimes think to yourself, it doesn't happen. There's people that come over and they associate kind of coming over to England. They associate to London, and if it's not London, they don't really want to kind of be involved in it. So yeah, that does happen.
Is it Vernhawk, the Dutch guy? What was his name?
Wesley Verhoek. Yeah,
he was going to sign for us, but then there was all the troubles, wasn't there? And it put him
the
off.
riots,
but I do think that being a couple of hours away from London helps us, because in most countries that's just the next town, isn't it? It's only because we're so compact here we see it as a long way. But that the Newcastle thing really it made me think that where do players see Nottingham in that whole mix? Like, but I don't know.
Well, Lewis escaped to the bright lights of Watford, didn't he, to get closer to the big London super clubs?
I'm not sure it was bright lights. That's for sure.
Right, let's get back to it. Thank you for the three lads there for covering for me. My mum is here. Greg was lobbying to get her back on. She decided she wanted to. Well, hang on. She decided she wanted to get on the Wi-Fi. Yeah, and put the code in, and she pressed the off button on the Wi-Fi or unplugged everything. So that's why I disappeared. Yeah,
but it's nice she's come to visit.
Lewis is obviously a made broadcaster already, though, because he basically just covered that whole time chatting through loads of stuff and then started asking us questions.
Oh, an absolute hero. Love it. Love it. Right. I think we'll probably wrap things up. Greg Mitchell, any final thoughts or anything you want to add before we go?
What's your thoughts on? Did you ever do a gender reveal for your kids?
No,
it was quite an impressive sight at the City Ground yesterday.
Yeah, with Murillo. Yeah, that's
congratulations to them.
Yeah, congratulations to Murillo before we scoff at gender reveal.
Yeah, no, it was just quite impressive. Very Premier League, I'd say.
Lou, would that have kept you at the club for another season, Lou, if they'd have done that for you on the City Ground pitch?
Yeah, the times have changed. That's for sure. Because my time, we wouldn't. Apart from when we was playing, we wasn't allowed on that pitch. So yeah, it's all changed, but all for the good. That's for sure.
Certainly, yeah, all for the good. Fair play to Murillo. Fair play. Greg, anything else before we go?
Yeah, just a reminder that my friend Matt's book is out January the 27th. He's the co-founder of Forza. He runs the Forest Preservation Society, and he's got this book called Trailblazers coming out that you can pre-order now. I think Amazon, iPitch Media, is it? I can't remember. But just search Trailblazers, Matt Oldroyd, and it's going to be fantastic. I've read a few chapters, and it's just incredible the stuff he's found out. The information about this football club will just blow your mind. So yeah, if you can and you want a nice book to read at the end of January, just pre-order it.
Excellent. Lewis, anything from you before we go?
No, just wish everyone a Merry Christmas. I think it's a very good Christmas to be associated with Nottingham Forest. I think we can all have a really good Christmas day, ready to get going on Boxing Day, which hopefully will be a good 3 points, and we can carry on this great run. So no, I hope everyone has a great Christmas, and I'll see you in the new year.
Done your Christmas shopping yet?
No.
He's got people to do that for him.
I'll see you in Vicky Centre tomorrow morning.
Yeah, panic station.
Exactly.
But it wouldn't be Christmas without panicking, would it?
Pete Blackburn, anything from you before we go?
Well, I don't know if this is too big a topic to do at the end, but when you started talking about Boxing Day memories, the first thing I thought was that horrendous Boxing Day in 2012, where I was sitting down to a nice family meal, having got home from Forest Leeds, and then the dreadful news that Sean O'Driscoll had been sacked 1 point off the playoffs after a 4-2 win. Were you still? You were still there, Lewis? You were still there.
Still there, yeah. Still there. Same exactly. I think probably fans got the news before the players. I can remember I got it online, same as the rest. It was a very bizarre day, especially after the result that we had that day. But that's football, isn't it?
Summed up the ownership, I think. I think it was Simon Cox after who tweeted after saying something like, "So you win 4-2, great day, absolutely gutted." It was just, I don't think I could quite believe what had happened. It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
really ruined Christmas for me that year. I was absolutely gutted. I loved Sean O'Driscoll.
He was a good guest on here when he came on. Oh, he was really interesting. Right, let's leave it there. I don't think there's anything from me to say. Someone did message me saying, can you mention all the good work the players are doing in the community this year with food banks and hospital visits and all that stuff. So a quick shout out for the players, certainly. It's great to see that whole side of it from the club doing so well in the community and everything, as well as on the pitch, obviously, at the moment. But yeah,
and Nuno as well.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, what a hero. Yeah, a year of Nuno.
And we've not even mentioned we've got a new CEO as well. Never thought the day had come.
I know. Yeah, the former Roma CEO. I've forgotten her name.
A power move, that is. I think that's a big signing. So
I think
onwards.
So. Yeah. Can anyone remember her name? I feel like I really have to say it now.
I can, but I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right. It's Lena Saluku or something along those lines, I think.
Yeah. Lena Saluku, who was Roma CEO as well. So, yeah, making moves in all the right directions.
Olympiacos as well, right?
Yeah. So part of that whole family. Right, we are back tomorrow. There is an opposition preview on Spurs, loads of in-depth stuff on them, and then we are back on Boxing Day for a post-match show, and then a post-match Everton show as well. Probably a limited stuff around then. Otherwise, Greg Mitchell, thank you for waking up for this. Very appreciate your company.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a walk now and see some potential daylight. It might be too late, but. It happens. It's Christmas. We live and learn.
Exactly. Lewis McGugan, thank you very much.
No problem at all. My pleasure.
Pete Blackburn, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. And a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone who's watching. Been an absolute joy. Hope you have a great festive period.
Yeah, indeed. Have a great Christmas, everyone. And if we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.